Welcome all to another C64 Roundup, your concise guide to some of the latest happenings within the Commodore 64 scene. Let's get straight to it by taking a look at our feature game title for June 2021. Eye of the Beholder is a dungeon-crawling RPG game originally released for the Amiga and MS-DOS systems back in 1991. The C64 port of the game continues to undergo further graphical refinement, but the overall gameplay and mechanics are fully in place, and the current beta build on show here is an accurate representation of the final product. The game starts off with the breathtaking introduction explaining that a team of adventurers have been hired to investigate an evil coming from beneath the city. It's hard not to be impressed with the level of detail contained within these scenes, and it's a great way for the game to kick off. Just as we find that our adventurers have walked into a trap within the sewer system, we are taken to the character generation section that allows us to create our own party of 4 and define their characteristics. If you're not happy with the statistics automatically generated for your characters, you can re-roll for new stats, or even better, manually modify them yourselves to suit your own needs. Once you've created your party, we're ready to start with the proper game. To the right of the primary game window, we can see our initial party of 4, with their current hit point status and the items that they currently hold in each hand. Eye of the Beholder supports both keyboard and mouse controls. I found using the combination of the two produced the best results. When we start to move around the sewer level, we can see that the game moves at a good pace and the screen refresh lag is not going to be an issue here. As we explore our way through, we'll find items to collect, which we can do by simply clicking on the item and then dragging it to one of the inventory slots of each character. Eye of the Beholder requires you to explore and integrate every inch of the game world, as much of its progression is based on locating various switches or markers throughout the game. You will also find important items such as scrolls hidden in wall cavities, but at times you will want to experiment a little with these voids in order to obtain access to special quests and to upgrade weapons. Of course, combat is also a key element to the game. Using the right mouse button, you can select which weapon is to be used to attack the enemies. Short-range melee attacks can only be undertaken by the two party members situated at the front, while you will be looking at your back two members to utilise spells. One great addition to the C64 port is the inclusion of an auto map to help you keep track of where you are on each level, and you will be referring to it constantly to help you plan your path forward. Eye of the Beholder is not the easiest game to get fully into, and while casual gamers will enjoy playing through the first level, the game itself requires a heavy commitment and many hours to complete. It's hard to do the game justice though within the space of a few minutes here, but I think it's clear to see that this is a project passion for coder Andreas Larson and his team. The overall production values on offer are high, and the graphics are impressive overall, even in their current state. Eye of the Beholder is both PAL and NTSC compatible, and will be made available as a free digital cartridge image once it's completed. There is some discussion about the game being available as a physical cartridge via a Kickstarter campaign, but this will probably depend on getting permission from the current rights holder to the game. Well, time for me to take a little bit of a breather. While I'm doing this, why don't you sit back and relax and enjoy some of the latest pixel art. Okay, let's see what's been making news. And we have quite a bit to cover this month, so let's get on with it. Monte Boyd continues to make great progress on his upcoming top-down racing game, Muddy Racers. Some of the latest additions to the game include a music soundtrack from Jammer and the inclusion of additional set of tracks. Having played the current work-in-progress version, I can confirm that this one is coming along quite nicely and it's quite a lot of fun to play. There's a slight bumper car nature to the racing style, and you'll be able to collect coins so that you can upgrade your car. But more importantly, I think Monty has got the steering mechanism spot on here to give the game a great overall feel. Me and Larval is an RPG game currently in development by Commodore. The plot to the game sees you looking to avenge your father who has died at the hands of vampires. Me and Larval will feature high-res bitmap graphics along with multi-day settings, a turn-based combat system and great variety of weapons. But perhaps what will make the game stand out from other RPGs is that you yourself will be susceptible to becoming a vampire, which will alter the game path ahead unless you find the antidote in time. This one is well worth keeping tabs on for the future. Issue number 18 of KA Plus magazine is now available in both digital and physical A4 sized editions. KA Plus is a Commodore themed magazine packed with goodness such as providing reviews on new games and old games that include how-to tutorials and interviews with icons of the industry and game developers. And while we're on the topic of magazines, issue 2 of Zap64 Micro has also been recently released, featuring reviews of 10 brand new games, including a couple that have yet to be released. The issue also features an interview with Antonio Savona about his current work in progress on A Pig Quest. The next game that we can expect to be released by Icon64 is Soulless 2: The Armour of the Gods. The story behind the game continues on from the original game, where many years after King Ryzek reclaimed his throne from evil wizard Kalen, there are rumours going around that Kalen has discovered the whereabouts of the Armour of Gods, which grants its holder with the Weapon of the Sun and the ability to fly. With this powerful weapon in his hand, Kalen would have no trouble disposing of the king again, so we better jump onto our horse and make sure this doesn't happen. While the first Soulless drew inspiration from Draconius and Impossible Mission, Soulless 2 is looking to provide more of a modern-day interpretation of the sacred armour of Antiriad. Based on the video trailer released, it does look like that the control enhancements applied to Soulless SC have been applied to Soulless 2, so it's expected to play quite well. Icon64 has started to push out progress updates for Terrestrial, and has released a trailer showing off this nice looking introduction to the game. Based on these still pictures, Terrestrial is looking to be a game that draws strong inspiration from Raid Over Moscow and Beachhead. Hands On Gaming is a great new retro gaming podcast co-hosted by Darren Borg from Retro Domination and Brendan Randall from one of my favourite YouTube channels, BastagB64K. For each episode, the guys pick a classic title from the past and discuss how it holds up across a number of vintage computer systems, doing their utmost best to contain their C64 bias over other inferior 8 and 16-bit systems. The first episode took an in-depth look at Mastertronics Ninja, while the second switched focus to creatures from Thalamus. Badger Punch Games has announced that they are working on Rogue 64, a modern roguelike game with procedural generated levels that sees you going around dungeons collecting gold. To complete each level, you need to fight off various monsters while locating a key that will unlock the exit. It's looking like a really easy game to pick up and play, and would be quite suitable for casual players. Rogue 64 is on track for a 2021 release. Do you have a software project or hardware device that you'd like to show off to the C64 community? Then why not submit your passion project to the most popular regular series platform covering the current Commodore C64 scene, the C64 Roundup by RGN. Achieving more than 5,000 viewers within the first 4 weeks of its video releases, The C64 Roundup is one of the most effective ways for you to promote your product to a target audience that has an interest in modern day solutions and projects. Bubblesoft has teamed up with Cytronic Software to release Nixy the Glade Sprite. Originally a ZX Spectrum title, this charming arcade adventure sees Nixy the Glade Sprite in charge of looking after the Gaia Stone, which gives life to plants and flowers. Unfortunately, the stone has become corrupted and needs to be cleansed, so your job is to travel through the forest and its caverns, avoiding deadly plants and creatures to find the sacred pool and cleanse the stone, then return it to the guardian tree in the glade. The first task is to locate the stone itself. Playing through Nixy, we can see that it's quite a nice looking game, with graphical style giving hints of its origins, minus the Specky's colour clash attributes. There is so much detail on offer within the graphics, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of this style being adapted to future C64 games. Having picked up the stone, our next job is to take it to the cleansing pool. Timing movements and jumps is a critical element to Nixy's gameplay. Fortunately, the game's jump controls are good and allows us to pull off some pixel perfect jumping that the game requires. The original ZX Spectrum title is a flick screen game. The C64 game avoids this and features scrolling screens, though the speed and smoothness of the scrolling is probably one area where the game could be improved. Once we have located the pool, our next objective is to find 10 flower blooms to help with the cleansing process. Collecting small hearts acts as a respawn point for when we lose a life, while extra lives can be gained by collecting the large hearts dangling from vines. Once you locate all 10 blooms, you're ready to go back to the cleansing pool and cleanse the Gaia Stone from corruption. Nixy is a very enjoyable arcade adventure with plenty of charm, and I greatly enjoyed my time with the game. Nixy is now available digitally from Cytronic's itch.io page at a great price of only $2. What a steal. For collectors, the game is available in cartridge, disc and cassette formats. Vector 5 Games has released a new puzzle game called Jump Out. You control what looks to be a rolling head across tile platforms, and you need to roll over every green tile on your way to the end goal tile. The green tiles disappear after you've rolled off them, so you need to plan your path forward to make sure you don't get isolated on a standalone tile with no way to move, resulting in a loss of one of your lives. Equally, if you reach the end goal tile while still leaving a green tile intact, then you will also lose a life. The game also features teleport tiles which provide access to inaccessible areas. And you will come across force direction tiles that push your character in a specific direction. Jump Out is a decent gaming experience. The game mechanics are well implemented, but a little bit of extra work is needed on the puzzle designs to make them a bit more engaging. Karmic has ported across Space Panic to the C64. Originally an arcade game from the very early 80s, which went on to receive a conversion onto the ColecoVision, the game sees you control a spaceman out to eliminate space monsters by digging holes in the platforms and luring them to fall into the holes, trapping them. You then need to quickly hit the trapped aliens with your shovel, knocking them out of the hole and off the screen to their doom. In later levels, the challenge ramps up, as 2 or more holes must be lined up vertically in order to dispose of the stronger aliens. And this is where the game starts to shine a bit, especially as you need to eliminate all the aliens before your limited supply of oxygen runs out. This is one for those who appreciate old school style of games. The New Dimension has released Gyro Run, a high score attack game where you control a moving spinner around the arena, attempting to score as many points as you can by collecting tasty treats scattered around the game arena. You control the spinner by using the dial at the bottom of the screen to indicate which direction to move, and pressing the joystick button to change the direction. There isn't much to Gyro Run that will make you want to play it more than once, but you can't go wrong with a free game. Warren is a C64 game that was originally intended to be released on the Firebird label in the late 80s, but was cancelled at the last minute due to it being not good enough. While circumstances have come to the fore where the original coder has been able to spend a little more time on the game to polish it up and make it stable. Basically, your objective in Warren is to navigate obstacles to reach the exit portal on each level. The game can be somewhat frustrating to play as some of the timing elements are a little tough. But even if you set this aside, there really isn't much enjoyment from the game. Once again, this is a free game, so give it a try and see for yourself. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. How about we take a look back at an old game? But not too old, as this channel's focus is still only on games released in the 21st century. Assembloids is a C64 conversion of a flash game called Quartet, and was released back in 2013 by RGCD and Cytronic Software. Assembloids is an interesting puzzle game that will test out your reaction skills. Your goal is to assemble faces using the tiles dropped in the central window by moving them to the adjacent windows by pushing your joystick in the corresponding direction before time runs out. There are 4 different faces consisting of 4 tiles each, and you don't have to create a totally matching face set in order to clear it from the screen, but having them all matched up gives you more points. The longer it goes, the more the game speeds up its gameplay, resulting in some frantic decisions needing to be made in order to avoid losing a life. There isn't much depth to Assembloids, but what is there is quite well implemented and quite fun to play. Another good game for casual players. Cytronic Software currently offers Assembloids as a free digital download from their itch.io site, or alternatively, you may want to purchase the game as a physical cassette. And that's a wrap on the June edition of the C64 Roundup. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I'd like to thank you all for regularly tuning in to this series. I'm having a lot of fun producing it, and I hope to be able to continue doing so for a little while more. Until next time, bye for now.